And thank you again, Foster.
The items mentioned generally are referred to as BLS and ALS, basic life support and advanced life support. Of course, if it's an ALS call, the Little Red Wagon is going to transport you. If it's a simple issue, what they call BLS, that's when our ambulance kicks in. Okay? I would point out that the Little Red Wagon isn't going to leave anybody sitting on the sidewalk. The ambulance doesn't always respond in time, and the Red Wagon would transport anyway. Yes, Ed?
I think there's a couple of things to consider here. First of all, think of yourself as an individual. You have a car. You're paying $2,000 a year. You hope you don't have an accident. You do, you're covered. We're all individuals. If it cost you, and you $1 or $700, you have to look at it as you as an individual because we're a group. That's number one. Number two, someone says we're all getting older. You could be sick when you're 15. You don't have to get older to have an accident to be sick. The third thing, and I think that's what Marilyn Galadesa was referring to, we had a vote on the budget, which was, can we adjust the budget line item? It was turned down. I'm not objecting if every single line item in that budget, someone can get up, make a motion, and revisit the item that was turned down. And we had an item where we had 158 delegates, 28 didn't vote, 2 abstained. It was 95 to 40, 95 for, 40 against, and it didn't pass. So it looks like we're not only not measuring it as an individual when we're all a group, but we're going against what we just voted down at the last meeting. And I think in regard to what Marilyn said, if it's going to go back on, any item can be brought to the floor, but if it's going to be considered, it's got to be published and go through everything again. And I personally, having had people in my family suffering from major diseases, welcome the fact that I don't have to be subject to $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 a year for getting to the hospital. And it doesn't have to be an emergency. You don't know if it's an emergency until the hospital evaluates you. So God willing, we're all healthy, but don't say it's just the old. It's all of us.
Thank you, Ed. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. This is new for me. But
Get close to the mic.
okay. I'm Mary Navias. I'm from Bedford C. And there was an AMR meeting earlier this year that in room C. I don't know how many of you that went to that meeting, but it was very informative because this is a kind of something I get really annoyed at. When you call 911 and the red truck comes, they determine, as they said, whether or not this is important enough to go to the hospital with them because it's a life-saving condition. I have had them come to my building several times without life-saving conditions, but for some reason, the red truck talks these people into going with them because they say AMR may not come fast enough. You incur a bill if your insurance does not cover ambulance service. AMR takes time because we do not have We do not have the ambulance on site all the time. Down in, I don't know, is it Boca where Kings Park is? They have an ambulance on site all the time, which means they come immediately if the red truck is there. It is a minimal expense that would be added to their being there all the time, like 25 cents, a condo. There are extra things that AMR does for you that the red truck does not. If they bring you to the hospital at any time that you have to leave the hospital to come home or to go to a rehab center, they do.
They don't do that anymore.
When did they give this up?
A few months ago when we
Oh,
sat
it
down,
must have been after my meeting.
they changed it.
Okay, goodbye, because that was important. It was very important, but why did they change? Not enough money?
Because their contract changed with, their contract with Medicare and Medicaid changed. And as they diminished the money, they diminished the contract that we have.
Can we change that?
Yeah, they want to start at $5 to get better service.
Condo.
Each condo would cost us, this is the number that was thrown out by one of the
All
gentlemen
right.
that we had,
For me,
approximately.
$5 is not a lot to have that kind of service with an aging husband, and even myself who fell this past summer, I would have needed somebody. But they have taken my people to rehabs, have taken them home. If it has changed, then it's something that we have to look at when we renew the contract and decide whether or not, with the delegates, if this is warranted to have somebody all the time. Amen.
Okay.
Randall.
I forgot what the motion was. Look, we got a contract in effect. Nothing's going to interfere with that. I'm always hesitant to vote on something when I don't have enough information. And on something so important, I don't have enough information. But it occurs to me that this is not a black and white issue. Either get rid of it or continue with it. And it's inadvisable to continue with it because it costs more money than we're actually getting back. A lot of companies self-insure, and as far as I see, this is a form of insurance. Okay, if we're spending $138,000 on a contract, let's look at the idea of self-insuring. We have $138,000 earmarked for that. If we only cancel the contract, we only spend $75,000 in the course of the year, we've saved money. Okay, so let's not look at everything in terms of black and white, get rid of it or save it. Look to do a cost analysis and figure out whether or not, what do we got to lose? If we're going to continue with it, it costs us $135,000. Cancel it, earmark the $135,000 for people that need it, and we may end up with $50,000, $60,000 at the end of the year. So I object to the consideration of this motion based on I don't have enough information.
Dan.
This is not my opinion, but such a subject came up when Phyllis Richland, when she was active with UCO. She says, are we slowly approaching to becoming an assisting living village? Because this is something that is more of an assisting living to some people. But like we just said now, I mean, 105, if we can do self-support, then it's okay. It's much better not to react, but keep a fund for the use of the people. The problem is, how can you afford that people won't take advantage of it?
All right. I kind of sympathize with Marilyn's concern. This thing came up out of nowhere, but it's an important item, and I think a delegate does have a right to bring such things forward. As for the officer's report, I made it very clear we're skipping them so that we could get the bylaws discussed and voted on. But I think we're at a point where, assuming we still have a quorum, and we'll check in a minute, that we should take a vote on this. Because it's obviously of great concern. What? You're at 127?
Correct.
Thank you. All right. Can we have our counters activated again? Yes, we can. So all in favor if I understand the motion, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the motion was to terminate the ambulance contract. Is that correct?
That was the motion.
That was the motion. All right. All in favor of this? Is that accurate? Was that your motion?
It was terminating the contract, not terminating having ambulance available.
Well, the contract is the ambulance. You can't be too fuzzy on this.
It's not paying AMR the $137,000. It's paying it into an ambulance fund that whatever isn't used of the $137,000
No.
rolls over. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a service available to people. Yes, insurance you hope you never need. I'm just saying, why are we wasting this money paying a contract?
All right, you got to make a motion.
The motion, as I present it, is to cancel a specific contract with AMR and fund it as an ambulance availability item for the village.
All right. This is what Ed was talking about. Now, if you're going to attack this particular budget line item, then every single budget line item now gets put on the table against a budget that was voted and approved. All right?
Point of information.
I don't think we can do that. That's going to be a mess.
Point of information.
Okay, we'll get a new count. All right?
Point of information, Mr. President.
Yes.
How many budget meetings were there? Several, as I recall. I don't know the
I
exact
think
number.
3.
3 meetings, but if anybody had a question about any line item, I don't care whether it's ambulance or the laundry, whatever, that's the time to go and discuss
Correct.
these things, not to come after the fact and ask us to vote on something.
I agree, 100%. I mean, what I'm in essence hearing is that this motion really should be crashed out. Simple as that, as an out of order motion, and really a violation of procedure here. All right, where are we? Anita?
Yes, I agree that it wasn't the right time or the right place for that motion. However, last month, we voted to remove, not to do line item modifications, but we did keep the line item veto.
All right. So I'm going to simplify this at this point.
Can I just make a
Hold
point?
on. Yes, the answer is yes, but we're going to declare this motion out of order.
Fine,
Sir.
because I was going to come up and made the same point as Randall made. Why don't we do a study to determine whether it is better for us to not to change anything now, but to consider whether in the future we should handle this by a self-insurance method, because I think that makes sense. Let this stay, but let's look into it for the next budget.
Yeah, more on the line of what this delegate was talking about. Absolutely. All right. How many, I think we've lost our quorum, but how many have left? You have 28 gone? Wow. 24.
It's gone.
Okay, so clearly we have lost our quorum. On the matter of committee reports, as always, they are in your packet, and that's going to put us into good and welfare.
Can I just...
And Fausto has something important.
Yesterday, we had the insurance option sheets handed out. If you did not come to the insurance meeting, Phyllis will be at the UCO office this afternoon. You can come and pick them up. They must be returned no later than next Friday. Otherwise, whatever has been proposed for your building will go through. So please come in and pick up the option sheets.
This is very important. There are choices which your board must make. And if those if those choices aren't made, the insurance office will assume the most complete coverage. All right?
David,
I'm hearing maybe, George, maybe I'm hearing a motion to adjourn.
well, before you do that, hold on, before you do that, folks, you asked for it, we're doing it again. February the 7th, Operation Pill Drop. Save those pills, bring them in here 10 to 2 in the morning until the afternoon. It's going to be there at the Sheriff's Department. Okay, and also Judge Jamie Goodman sends his wishes for a happy holiday and safe season.
All right.
Okay? Thank you.
I have a motion to adjourn. Without further ado, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.